This is the Kaiju Retailers Summit panel. Hope everybody's having a good time here at Kaiju Brooklyn too so far. It's been a really, really good show. I think we've had a couple of really great panels so far. We're going to continue it with our guest today. This is Raymond Louis from Muteki Sales. And we have Chris Oyo from Seismic. This is a pretty seismic event, I would say, right? So guys, you both do a lot of shows, and that is the bulk, I would say, of your retail business. Now, what would you say is the biggest, let's say, issue with doing mostly shows?
I mean, first and foremost, I think with any show, a vendor always looks for word of mouth. So either you've gone to the show, you know reliable people who are at the show, to find out, hey, is this a good show to set up and whatnot. So that's the biggest thing. And obviously, with any show, you hope for a good show, but if it's a bad show, I mean, that's consistent bad shows, like big crowds are out there, depending on if it's it's not performing great, that's where it becomes a tricky situation.
I agree with Chris on that. But it's a big mix, because what it is that you can have a big crowd and have people who are not really interested in buying your stuff, or you can have like a very small show where everyone is interested and you still do very well at it. I think yes, word of mouth, very, very, very important, but also I think it has to do with the devoted fan base. Because if your fans aren't into it, like if you're going to do a Godzilla show and no one's interested in Godzilla, kind of defeats the purpose. You can have like 500 Mickey Mouse fans. You just go, oh great, I suck Godzilla.
On that note, how do you go about picking your shows?
I pick my shows based on a bunch of things. I will be the first to admit, I pick shows based on time because I actually have a regular day job. So that's also something I have to consider, family and work and all that. But I also want to, I also pick shows based on the commitment of the showrunners. Right? If the showrunner is committed and he or she is very devoted into making a very good show and puts in a lot of effort, I'm more willing to do a smaller show with somebody more committed than having some kind of gigantic show, say like New York Comic Con, where everything is very, very, hands off. It's not so personal. So that's a big thing for me. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that. You have to factor in a lot of travel with these kinds of shows, so anything that is really outside of the tri-state area can be a little tricky, and you want to make sure that you are doing a show that is worth it. I will say I don't travel a huge amount around the old US of A or the world for shows. Not yet anyway, just because the expense incurred and stuff like that, and again, it depends on the show, but we do travel from time to time to those destinations. We do a show and find a good show and you latch on and you have to stay consistent.
And how big is having a show in both of your backyards like Kaiju Brooklyn?
It's a blessing.
I totally agree. All the stuff that we carry, I don't want to carry it all the way over. This was like, what, a half-hour trip? So it was great, and and the person who was this John Galati, Robo 7, I mean, he's good friends for both me and Chris, and it was easy to do all the load-ins, and this is exactly what we both are into. We're into Tokusatsu, we're all into the live-action Japanese stuff. This show is pretty much made for us. It's perfect.
Absolutely. Well, let's go backwards. How did you both get started doing retail?
Oh, my story is over long-winded. Chris doesn't mind. He's going to start getting more greater. I grew up in Japan. I knew Kamen Rider, Ultraman, Godzilla, way before Superman Batman. When I came back to the United States, I'm like, who are these guys? They don't fight monsters, they don't zap things, and what's this Batman guy can't even fly? So, and later on I became a big, American comic book fan. But I started this because I started buying...
That's how I met Ray, by the way, through comics.
Through comic books, through DC Comics. I started buying toys, you know, as a kid, you know, your parents buy you stuff, and I was absolutely fascinated by all this. I started getting into this retail because I noticed that when I came back to the States, people were overcharging toys. Well beyond. I can name like somebody like, you know, like something I would sell for like 80. And as a fan, just like you guys, you know, I'm a collector too. So I felt it was unfair for people to overcharge. So what I did was, when I started my business, my philosophy was, you know, obviously you have to make money. Right? You gotta make money, I mean, to keep the business going. But at the same time, I was like, I don't feel that I should gouge a fellow collector. It's unfair. So that's why I started this, because I wanted my own stuff. But I also wanted to make sure that, you know, spread out the idea of Tokusatsu and, you know, doing, making sure that, you know, fans get what they want. I love it when a fan, even if they don't buy from me, you know, if I sit there and so it's like, hey, Chris has something, I would direct them over to Chris, and I'll be like, you finish your collection, I'm happy for you. And that is my philosophy on how I do it, and that's why I got into it. How about you, Chris?
So it was a bit of a different road for me. I was always somebody that, well, background, just to give you a little bit of a check, day job, I do a lot of video work. I did a lot of projects in that regard, and I was involved in some other projects that were on the indie side, and, you know, just always loved Godzilla, always loved different things and of that nature. And then I kind of got the opportunity, after I had done some other work on something else Godzilla related, that a friend of mine, Alice Rushdie, who now is my partner in Seismic, basically came up to me and said, hey, we should really do this. You know, we friends in the convention days, you know, I was like, hey, wouldn't it be great to make a toy one day? Yeah, let's make it. Well, finally that happened, and that was actually pretty cool. So that's sort of how we started at Seismic, and well, like Raymond was saying, it's good to do something because you're coming at it from a fan's perspective. And you want to basically do something that you'd want to have as a collector. When you go up to a vendor, you want to be treated a certain way, have prices be a certain way. And, you know, that's sort of our philosophy too. So we totally align in that regard. You know, and for us, we try to carry, not only do we make toys at Seismic, and we license them through Subaraya and other companies like Virgin AM Games, but we're also doing something that we believe we want somebody to have something for everybody at the table. So whether you are a toy collector, or whether you want Godzilla chopsticks, or whether you want movies, VHSs, whatever, we try to have a little bit of everybody for everybody's taste, because every collector is different, and that's okay. Not everybody's a toy person, and that's all right. But we want to make it so you have something at the table that might speak to you.
Chris, to follow up on that, does being a toy maker as well as a retailer change the dynamic a bit of how you think about like what you set your prices at, or just how you go about like arranging your table, arranging your website, let's say? Like, what do you focus on more?
So we try to be as compartmentalized as possible. So we try to divide up items for Sofubi. So then there's the Sofubi that we make, and then there's the regular Bandai toys and stuff like that. So we try to arrange the table in such a way, even on the website, where we're having it more, you know, organized by category, so that when somebody comes to the table, their eyes aren't looking all over the place. We just dump the bin on the table. We want to have some kind of, you know, arrangement for it that's specific, so people can place. Okay, here's the Bandai section. Here's your Sofubi. Here's your X pluses on the shelf.
Because I am interested in a lot of Sofubi and beautiful work. I guess like the question would be, what I was trying to say is, does your thought process into making toys like change by what you see from the community when you sell, like, say, more mass market toys from like Bandai and stuff? Like, how does that go into any of your toy making ideas?
A little bit sometimes. I mean, for us, we've done, you know, when we started doing the Ultra and Vinyl Odyssey line, you know, the first toy we wanted to do was Shiraz. Gee, I guess why, you know? So then from there we kind of went into other categories, and we kind of select our characters based on, you know, what we feel maybe is perhaps lacking in the market, something that we want to see. Hey, this is a really great character that is maybe underrepresented or maybe hasn't had a proper toy yet. And then we say, okay, how can we make it differently? Because again, if we want to make something that we feel like, if I saw that on the shelf, at a table, on the website, maybe I'd like to buy that too. That's sort of how we kind of come out of our creative process.
And Ray, you don't only do Kaiju toys. I mean, you're a huge robot fan, and you carry a ton of robots. You don't see it here, but that is a major part of Muteki sales.
That is true. And like I said, I grew up in Japan during the 70s. Big, huge robot boom, right? You got Mazinga Z, Great Mazinga, Get the Robo, Combat Trail, all those guys. So I grew up exactly, I was in Japan at the time when something new came out. It was called Gundam. No one knew what it was. It was like some kind of new thing. And I was in on the ground floor. And from that point on, it was just like, you know, our business actually, you know, lived off Gundam. Because actually, for many, many years, like during the 90s and all, not many places sold Gundam. And when we did our very first show, which was New York Comic Con, talk about jumping into the Grand Canyon instead of dipping myself into a swimming pool, I brought along Gundams, and people kept saying, nobody likes Gundams. Nobody likes Gundams. What are you saying? And I said, I believe in this. I think this is a great, great product. This is a great, great franchise. And from that point on, even though Tokusatsu is my goal, that's what we basically have, you know. The logo, I even have our own common writing. Designed our own common writing. Tokusatsu is our goal, but yet we also like really into classic 1970s Super Robots, classic 1970s anime, Yamato, Galaxy Express, Captain Harlock, all the Matsumoto stuff, all the weird 80s, Strungle, Subliminal, all those guys. But Gundam is a big thing, and it really is almost half of my business. It is, it really is. It's like, as much as I love Tokusatsu, I love it to death. Combining all of those guys, half of it is Gundam. 50% of my business is Gundam. It's a big thing, and you know, and that's why like I'm really happy about Chris's creation with toys, because it's like it's fascinating to me. Yeah, because it's like I sell retail stuff, but for someone like for a friend to sit there and build his own thing, absolutely, once again, fascinating.
Ray, what is the challenge of getting Tokusatsu fans to buy Gundam stuff and vice versa?
I think if you're already interested in this genre, I don't think anyone is actually limited. Like I don't see like I see anime fans who are like dabble a little into Tokusatsu, and I see some Tokusatsu fans that dabble a little into anime and so forth and so on. I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about current anime. Current anime just kind of looks like, magical person, more magical people, lots of lights. I really don't know. My guys are always like giant robots punching out giant monsters, which is Tokusatsu based, right?
And this is why I'm always trying to push like folks that are into kaiju figures to like expand and like check out some robot stuff, because the crossover is so huge. So it's always fascinating to me to see you with both of those two things too. And I've always wanted to know, like, can you cross over the two? Can you cross over the fans? So you get more fans to appreciate one thing and the other?
I've always wanted to push that. It's like usually like when people come to our table and I see somebody like wearing a Gundam shirt or whatever, or a Kamen Rider shirt or something, we try to engage in them, and then I try to like put some kind of similarities. I'm like, oh, you like giant Sentai robots punching out? Well, guess what? Mazinga Z does the same thing. Yeah. We got that too, and we've got all these kind of things. So it's there is a blend, but I think it has to do with how open your mentality is. Like, are you open to other factors and other projects? I really tried to keep up with anime. I really did. I got just so lost. But it's just like, as long as it's like some sort of...
Check out Kaiju number 8, because that's a good thing to bring in.
Yeah, Kaiju number 8 is very, has that sort of...
As a reviewer, let me tell you, that stuff is doing very, very well. People are very much into it.
Right.
So
Evangelion also has that sort of,
absolutely.
Sort of mentality, giant monsters, robots kind of thing. So I try my best to try to make sure that everybody, we all should connect. Over everything. It's just like if you like Marvel, I hope you like DC too. And if you like Marvel and DC, I hope you like Valiant. And I hope you like Image. It's like everything should be. You should be open to everything. If you like comic book genres, you should be open to all kinds of comic books. If you like anime, be open to all kinds of anime. tokusatsu, just kind of like everything should blend in because there's so much enjoyment from all of them.
Absolutely. Like my motto on my channel is diversify your collection, because there's like nothing like just being able to get something fresh and new and buying something that like you don't have a ton of, and it's just like, it's like a breath of fresh air sometimes. That's why like when I go to bigger shows like more generalized toy shows, there's so much variety to choose from. And I would love to like see, even though Kaiju Brooklyn is so like focused, I would love to see an expansion of like even that like into some other things that are related, you know, like I know so many Kaiju fans that are like Jurassic Park fans, so I tried to bring in more like dinosaurs this year on my table, you know. I don't consider myself a retailer, I just consider myself a guy with way too many stuff, many toys that needs to get rid of. But, you know, like, I like a lot of different things, and I think there's so much crossover, and that's what I'm always pushing on my channel, and that's why, you know, obviously, you know, me and Ray have become friends, because he believes in that too. There's a lot of crossover. And Chris, one of the things that's fascinating, like you're saying, is like that, you know, combo of like being a toy maker, vinyl, awesome figures, and then getting, you know, and selling other figures. Is there also a crossover there of like, do people that buy like the original vinyl, you know, are they the same people that buy the retail stuff, or is there not much of a crossover there too? Because I've seen like, and this is again from being a reviewer and knowing that how many, you know, fans are very, very particular about what they like to buy. You know, like I see people that all are only into vinyl, or only into articulated figures, or only into like X Plus.
Yeah, there's definitely an aspect of that. I think at the end of the day, collectors will collect what they like.
Absolutely.
So perhaps they may not want the hot pink Godzilla that's stylized. Maybe they want the X Plus that's more accurate to the suit. They want the SH Monster Arts because they want to display something like a diorama, all posed. So I think at the end of the day, and I think that's how you should collect. Collect what you like, collect what speaks to you. You might say, well, I'm a Bandai person. Okay, that's great. But you might see a Sofubi and say, oh, that's really great. Collect what speaks to you at the end of the day. Because I think that makes your collection more interesting. And again, speaking to the crossover, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all nerds in a good way. And I think it's great to say, oh, hey, I might also collect Ghostbusters, or I might like Transformers, or I might like, you know, Disney stuff. Whatever it is that you like, you collect, you know? And I think that's cool too. And I think there is definitely that crossover element, you know, different pop culture items.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's such a big part of it. Now, I've had this interesting experience this year and last year where folks will see something on my table, and again, my retail experience here, like as far as like selling stuff myself, is very limited. But I've seen it a bunch of times already where somebody doesn't know what the product is, and they thought it was like a Bandai or something, and they thought, and it was like, oh, but you know, I collect Bandai, and then they find out something else, and they're like, man, it's so good, and then they end up picking it up. You know, I think that's really cool, and that's the type of thing you should, you know, in my opinion, like people buying from, you know, retailers, whether they go to stores, whether they're going, you know, to a show, whether buying something online. If you see something that's cool, just put a blinder on, you know, who's making it, and just approach it as like, hey, I think that's really, really cool, because end of the day, a cool toy is a cool toy no matter who makes it, I think, and no matter what kind of genre it's in. So let's switch gears a little bit. You both have online shops as well. Like, how, and now I know, Chris, yours is a little like, you know, different because you have like the Safubi stuff and you're celebrating stuff. Like, how do you know, is that like a venue of your aspect of your business that, you know, is, you know, you feel like is doing well, is growing compared to shows? Or do you feel like shows are like where it's at?
It's kind of a 50-50 thing. I think it's really your customer finds you, how your customer finds you. And whether that's by a show or whether it's by a online presence, whether you're doing social media, whether they're finding it through your website, or maybe there's an article written about your shop. That's sort of how you'll find, your customer will find you at the end of the day that way.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I'm totally in agreement with Chris on it. It's definitely 50-50. It's nice to place, you know, faces and, you know, the you know, you're online, you're on Instagram or all kinds of social media, it's nice to see a face. You're just like, hey, I'm, you know, XYZ123. You're like, hey, you're somebody who buys from us all the time, you know, online. It's nice to see you at a show. So there's definitely the personal aspects of it. But Chris is right. It's just like, you know, when people want your product, they will find you. They will find you. Definitely.
Would either of you ever consider opening up a store?
No.
Why
That is
not?
a vehemently fast no.
Why is that?
My family owns a restaurant in Japan. To upkeep employees, insurance, fire, all kinds of stuff. You know, there's all kinds of, like, the bathroom's broken. I'm like, oh God, I gotta go fix the bathroom. You know, it's just like, oh geez, you know, there's none of this. Oh, the glass is broken, and it's just a lot of work. To own a store takes a lot of effort, and I absolutely admire people who can do that. Absolutely, but to own a physical store is so mentally and emotionally demanding that I don't think I can concentrate on actually selling my product. I'd rather talk to you and say, hey, I like this guy because blah, 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 blah. You know, I think the superhero's cool and I agree with you or I disagree with you. You know, that always happens. But if I'm just sitting there going, oh, you know, the air conditioning's gone wrong, oh, the lights are gone, I can't concentrate on you. I can't concentrate on you guys. And that to me is, and not only that, rent is always due, right? If you don't make sales, the rent's still there.
And the rent's too damn high, too.
Rent is too damn high. You don't know how much I despise insurance. Geico and I are the biggest enemies. So it's just like, you know, you still have to pay rent, right? You have to pay rent. You make $1, you pay $3,000. You make $10,000, you pay $3,000. It doesn't go away. And you know, if you can't devote your time to what you love doing, then, you know, that's all superfluous. It's all a lot of extra work. So I'm definitely seriously on the side of no. How about you, Chris?
If I was a billionaire, maybe. But it's kind of a money pit, like Raymond said. There's so many variables. Would it be great? Sure. Do you think about it? Yeah. Do you love going to those shops and say maybe one day? Of course. It's just not practical. It's not feasible. At least not for me. But you never know. Maybe Powerball happens. I don't know.
But yeah, that's the
As
thing.
of right now, no.
Like, money is a big thing. You know, like, I've always wanted to open a shop. As not only a toy guy, I'm also a comic book guy. I'm in the comic industry. It's always been, and I've worked at comic shops that sold a lot of toys and stuff, so, you know, having that retail experience, like, prior, it was always something that was kind of not like a goal, but like one of those things, if I ever got the opportunity, like you guys said, win some money, get some extra money somehow, it would definitely be something that I would try, but the only problem is location is, and this is like the same as finding a good con to go to. Location is everything. And you know, I see so many shops that have so much promise, unfortunately not make it because of their location. And then that's, to me, has always been one of the scariest things of opening up a shop, is just choosing the wrong location. You know? It is what it is. But let's talk about something else that, you know, both. Well, actually, before I get to that, I did want to say, now that we're talking about shops, how do you feel the Kaiju representation in stores right now, bigger stores and smaller stores, you know, looks to you guys? Like, you go into shops and see more Kaiju toys than you used to?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, just going in my mall recently, like, you see Bandai figures not really in a specialty shop, but in, like, you know, your mall comic shop. That's pretty amazing, you know. Seeing things in Target, or Walmart, or any of the stores, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, do I miss the stores of old? Yes. Do I miss the old collector shops? Oh yeah, they're great, they're timeless. But the fact that we're getting so much product in the market, it's having places to go, there is active distribution. I think it's a good thing. And whether you are someone that wants to spend $300 on an X Plus collector, or you know what, that Playmates toy for $20 brings you happiness, they're in different shops, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, Chris is definitely right, and it also has to do with having the legendary Godzilla Kong movies and all that. And obviously with streaming and the proliferation of able to see Tsuburaya doing Ultraman on their own site, and you can watch tons of stuff on YouTube. I just like you. It's like maybe 10 years ago, I wouldn't have gone into Target and seen a Godzilla or a Kong thing. I'd just probably be like, oh geez, do we need Icebreaker back on again? It's like,
Well, I do think the expansion of Bandai into the U.S. market more with the acquisition of Bluefin has been a game changer too. I mean, we've seen a lot of SH figure arts like showing up at Targets. I've seen SH Monster Arts at Targets, which was really interesting. Obviously for the Godzilla versus Kong stuff, and actually I haven't seen any Godzilla X Kong, but they did a great job of getting those toys to everybody day and date of the movie, which was interesting. Like Ray was like, "Hey, I got this. You want it?" I'm like, "You have it today?" They actually got it to you.
Yeah, that's right.
But they even got it into theaters, so it is an interesting time to be a kaiju toy lover, because we can find more and more kaiju toys out there. Like McFarlane's in the Pacific Rim stuff as well. Those toys have been out there. I don't know how far into stores they were, but they were on Amazon, easily accessible. So they're out there, and I think it's amazing. I mean, we're gonna have Ultraman Rising stuff, I think.
Yeah, that's gonna be they've already
right, Andrew?
Yep.
Right? That's going to be in stores too, right?
Yeah, the Ultraman Rising stuff. Yeah, it's on Netflix. You have the Ultraman anime also on Netflix as well. And it's a really I wouldn't say it's a golden age, but it's definitely an awakening.
Yeah.
A very much an awakening. And it's like when you have great you're introducing to new people. It's fantastic. It's like that. I see a kid pick up a Godzilla toy and all that. I'm always like, you go enjoy that. You go press that button. Make that raw. I don't care. How some parents don't push the button. I'm always like, push that button. And then the parent get angry. I'm just like, I just wanted to hear the raw.
Yeah, and it's great seeing getting into the toys by all the stuff that Playmates is doing. I mean, you know this. You're not too happy about it.
I know.
They're going to be doing Power Rangers as well. That's going to be good for that franchise, because it will get into a more wider audience.
Right, kids will have the ground floor. It's it's obviously more kid based.
Yeah.
Yeah, Playmates obviously Teenage Mutant Turtles, and all this
Which
kind
is
of
huge.
stuff. Which is huge. Yeah.
And
Not
they're
gonna
doing
deny it.
Godzilla X Kong stuff, which
Right.
you know what? I've reviewed them all. They're pretty decent.
Yeah. No, it's just like I was very disappointed when he mentions that. Just to put some context, I was very disappointed in Hasbro losing the Power Rangers license, because the Lightning collection was a really fantastic way of
Just to clarify, Hasbro owns Power Rangers, so they didn't lose the license. They actually licensed it out because their line wasn't doing well. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, but Lightning collection was a great way to it's an inexpensive way to get all my Sentai teams.
Absolutely.
And I've got red, blue, green. Next team. I was like, what? Where's the rest of them? I was like, where's the yellow? Where's the pink? No, we're not making it. Not only from a sales point of view, but from a fan's point of view. I don't want to be like, it's a team of 6 and I've got 2. What's going on? Do I have to draw stick figures or something?
Let's touch on a little bit, because we talked about how Bandai and we don't really call them Bluefin anymore, but you get it,
Yeah.
right? Bluefin, they're the distributor that Bandai bought. They were always distributing their stuff here for the retailers, but Bandai out and out bought them. Since they've bought them, and like I said, they did an incredible job getting everybody that ordered those SH Monster Godzilla X Kong figures to them on the day it was supposed to be released. I was mind blown by that, because distribution here in the U.S. from Japan through them has never been great. This is an issue that they've had for the longest time. Stuff comes out in Japan about a month and a half before it comes out here. And you know, it's always been one of those things where I know why that happens. It's because they batch their deliveries to the US, but it's always been a problem. So I was impressed that they were able to do that. How has distribution been for you guys as retailers? I know you deal with them a lot. I'm not sure, Chris, you deal directly with them too? So, because I know Diamond also, you know, distributes a lot of different things. How is it, and you work with Diamond too a little bit too. How is it working with different distributors and getting your product? Do you feel like you're getting them in time enough to be like competitive, honestly?
Well, I know doing a Bandai Namco recently, they've been really good about obviously the shipping as someone that sells. It's really great because that's always an issue when you want to buy a lot of stuff for customers. You might get banged out for shipping later. So that's been really good in that regard. For some of the other distributors that we deal with, it's good because there's more freedom. I have Amanda over there. She helped me with some distribution stuff recently, so that was really great. It kind of broadened our horizons for that to get more products to customers.
To reiterate your point on that, I think the merger has been very good.
Okay.
I believe that having two separate companies, you know, Bandai and Bluefin, there's always a communications disconnect. You know, even when you're at work, even if you send an email, you misconstrue things. But it's like, but now that Bandai has merged everything together, I think I've seen steps, and I personally know this. You know, like they have taken steps to eliminate a lot of like middle management stuff, got rid of a lot of the excess levels of hoops you have to go through. And I think they've streamlined things, and it has vastly improved from when I first started.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean,
because I mean, like I said, I've been friends with Ray for quite a while now, and we've talked about this. I've been in meetings with them, with Ray, so I know like some behind-the-scenes stuff that are mind-blowing, but it's amazing to hear the improvements that they've done, because that is fantastic. I mean, you know, a Bandai, if you know how they work as a company in Japan, they are no nonsense.
correct.
So it's really good to hear that things have gotten a lot better. And like I said, I was impressed when I saw, like, you know, not only you, but like a lot of folks getting those GXK SA sponsors on the day to, you know, of the movie release, for them to be able to sell them. That's fantastic, because that was even before Japan, and you rarely hear that happen.
Yeah, it's really been good. I mean, you know, there's always room for improvement. We can improve on anything, but it has improved to the point where in the beginning, you know, truth be told, there was a lot of yelling, there was a lot of screaming. You know, it's just kind of like to try to get your product, not only to get your product, but to get customer service. You know, to have people respond to you, questions about the stuff that you wanted, and it was a rough go. It really was. But once they did that connected streamline, I really have no complaints. Really don't. I mean, other than maybe a box dent or two, but that's to be expected.
Right.
Yeah, you know, your FedEx, UPS, whatever, they're gonna dent the boxes. But overall, it has been a vast improvement, and I love the fact that you mentioned the speed of things. You know, for instance, the Master Grade narrative Gundam C-Pack that just came out in Japan. I'm getting it like on Tuesday.
Amazing.
And it just came out. It just came out like last week, and I was just like, I'm getting it. Fantastic. Yeah,
They're cutting down the time is something that, you know, I wanted to see them do, because as a reviewer, I get a lot of stuff from Japan, you know, because you gotta be first, all right? Like, so I want to support, you know, more U.S. retail. So if they could cut down that time, that would be, you know, mean all the world to someone like me. And I know a lot of collectors, you know, are not comfortable sometimes ordering from overseas. So, you know, they would love to support more. But like, you know, I do see a lot of folks just, you know, going out and buying stuff from Japan because of that time gap. Does that affect you guys at all?
Oh, it certainly does. If it's a hot thing, like a Godzilla -1 item, you want it fast.
Right.
You want it now. And as a fan, I agree with you. I want it now. I want it too. But if there's such a lag time, like people complaining about the movie not being available now, it's finally on Netflix, but it's just like when you have that time of disconnect, people either get angry, go somewhere else and overpay, and then you lose business, or people will lose interest. That is always the biggest thing. People lose interest. And if they lose interest, you can have all the hot Godzilla -1s and people are gonna be like, yeah, that movie was like 3 years ago. And you don't want that. You don't want that. And that affects any retailer. Right? It's like you want to make sure that you get what you can. It's, I'm sure the same thing with Chris. It's just like we have to deal with timing issues, and it's very important for our business.
Yeah, I agree, and it's a supply and demand issue. And I mean, I'd say speaking from experience, the -1 stuff was very difficult to get hold of. It was back ordered. The company didn't make a lot of it, so Bandai didn't expect the demand that was there. So we dealt with that up until very recently, trying to get everything -1 is. So it was very big challenge.
Do you guys feel, getting more stuff from Japan direct? I know you do it a lot. I believe you do it somewhat too. Like, is that viable to get the product directly from Japan to sell for yourself, or would you like more local, avenues?
I mean, really, it depends on if you're a reseller and you're selling these things. You want to have the shipping to you be as economical as possible. So, I mean, more domestic shipping, yes, would be great. It's just not feasible for everything at this point, but who knows what the future holds.
What would you like the future of your businesses to look like?
Lots of sold out products.
The future for me?
Yeah.
I think would just simply it's a pipe dream. I work a very stressful job. I would love to just be a toy seller. Wake up, sell toys, meet with people, say hello. You love it? Great, I love it too. And just sell it, just peace and harmony. That's all I really want. I don't want, I know I'm not going to get rich from it. I'm going to need the power back. But I would love to have the business get to the point where I'm just kind of be like, it's profitable. It customers, regular customers, new customers keep coming in, and I could just kind of wake up and go, hey, tomorrow I'm going to have the same fun I had yesterday. That's what I really want. That and a Batmobile.
Always the Batmobile.
My obsession with the Batmobile continues.
And one last question from me, and then we'll open it up to any questions you might have. What would you tell anyone here in the audience, who would maybe like to start getting a table at a convention to sell? What would be some advice you would give them?
That's a good question. Be prepared for some growing pains. There's going to be a lot of investment, not just financially, but very emotionally. You have to devote, you really have to love it. Don't open a store if I sat there and opened a store about avocados, I don't care. But I don't want to open a store about avocados because everyone else is opening. I want to open a business where you love it. You can talk about every item you have. Thoroughly. You know it back and forth. You gotta really love it. And I've seen a lot of businesses that don't love what they do. They just want to open a business for the sake of opening. Like I had friends who were like, "Oh, I love comic books." I was just like, "Yeah, but you love Marvel. That's all you love. You're not devoted to the comic book genre. You don't know the artists. You don't know the conventions. You don't understand the differences and nuances and storylines. It's like you really have to love it, and that's probably the biggest growing pain I think any business can have. I can't cook. I barely make toast. I'm not going to open a restaurant. Don't do that. To me. So that's very important. So it's like you have to love it. It's just like, once you get that and you have to really kind of forego the obvious financial things in the beginning, you're gonna lose money in the beginning. You're gonna lose it. You have to be prepared for it.
There's also going to be shows where you don't make anything.
I had one where I made exactly $16. Nice.
I've been there.
Yeah.
As a long-time comic industry guy, I've been there.
So I think that's probably the best thing. After that, once you get that settled in and you're happy with what you're doing and things start to roll in, all the processes that you put into place start rolling in and how you do things, you're going to make mistakes here and there, but once you get that settled in and you have your business, I think that's when you can be, that's when you want to open up. Well, not. You open up a table, you give it a try. You give it a try, and see how you interact with people. It takes a while to have good customer service. So that's what you do. And I think that's probably what you should prepare for if you want to open up a table. Understood.
Yeah, just to echo what Raymond said, I agree with everything in that regard. I would say a lot of patience, a lot of empathy. You're going to get asked a lot of questions from customers. Always remember, you're a customer yourself. Be kind, be courteous. Also, if you're opening a business and doing this, again, like Raymond said, do it because you love it. For the love of God, work with good people. Stay away from anybody, do not partner with negative people or toxic people. They may drag you down. So I would say just keep your chin up. And
That's huge advice.
Experiment. You'll try shows. Ask around. Make friends in the community. Find people that you trust. And then latch onto those people and seek their advice. Like, oh, is this show good or is that one good? Should I stay away from this or should I do this? That's honestly what you really should be doing. And again, at the end of the day, if you're not having fun with it, don't do it.
Thank you both. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask Ray or Chris? Yep. Come on up.
How do you feel about products that aren't trying to rip off something but provides something that isn't available? Like, for example, I like Lego, but they don't make Godzilla ones. Bootleg ones.
You're the toy maker.
Well, I mean, I think that you're wanting to see something that isn't made yet. It never hurts to pitch to people that may have a license or something like that, because perhaps they could talk to you. This is a product that might be, a little bit on the slow side, but there's room for it. All you can do is ask. Never hurts to ask.
So I'm curious, is there any future product? Is there any future product you're excited to see? Anything you've seen from leak listing?
Is that from a general hey, this is coming out in the market, or something that we're
Rider, Super Sentai, any of the stuff?
I think for me, it's I want to see more. It's great. We love our Godzillas. There's tons of different things, but you know what? There's a lot of characters that don't get a lot of love, and I think that more toys of different characters to diversify your collection is always a good thing. Whether they're Ultraman, Kaiju, and there are other Godzilla villains that maybe are a little more obscure as far as many figures out there in the market. That's those kind of things I like to see. Those are the things that make me excited as a collector.
I agree with that too. Like I said before, I'm very excited, about Chris taking the step to being, a toy manufacturer. So that's something I'm looking forward to. I want to see that grow and succeed in its own way too. So, and as far as Rider and Sentai and Ultra, there's one every year. So there's always an excitement, right? New belt, new changes, new tiers, and that is always the magic of it. That's the magic of Tokusatsu. It's like you loved Ultraman Blazer. Well, I hope you love Ultraman R. I'm looking forward to that. When that ends, I hope to look forward to the next one. So it's if there's no specific product that I'm excited to see, because every year, God, right? You have God done. What's the next one after that? I hope it's awesome.
So I have two different questions for review.
Okay.
So for Chris, I went to an earlier panel with Ultimate Connection, and they said that Tsuburaya gave the artist 13 multiple pages notes on how to change the words. So when you were doing the Uriah Seismic toys, what what was it like to have that feedback back and forth with Samurai?
So it's definitely it can be kind of a longer process. You know, you start with your concept sketch. Well, you first start with your email. You say, hey, I'd like to make such character. And then once that gets approved, you go to your sketch. You know, hire an artist. We use Kaiju Jr for one of our toys. We use a whole bunch of different people. Then you go, once the sketch is approved, you go to 3D. And the 3D modeling is really where you get the bulk of your notes. But your first sketch, you're going to get a ton of notes. Now, that does elongate the process, that's true, but I think what that shows at the end of the day is that Subaraya is so dedicated, loves their creatures and their characters, that they want to make sure that you're putting out as a company the best product representing their IP and representing their characters. So I think that's ultimately a good thing. Yeah, is it?
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so I guess my other question is like, it's more for Raymond, but Chris can also answer that too.
Okay.
I was like basically when Gundam first started, like no one knew what Gundam was, so you had to like hit the common floor to get hype up certain products. So I'm just wondering, like, based on your experiences, what do you think is like an underserved or maybe a proper IP that doesn't get as much love? And like, how do you guys like try to like make sure that your business can even sell it, but also not like break the bank because you know it's pretty much also IP at the moment.
That's a very good question. It's kind of a tough question. I guess the way I've always approached, you know, new IPs and idea is if you like the idea yourself. It goes back to about loving what you do, right? So you want to see if the concept is unique and different. You know, you're going to see the same concepts over and over and over, but it's how you change it. Like I'm going to use a comic book reference. The difference between Mr. Fantastic and Plastic, right? Two different. They both stretch. They both do their things, but it's which concept appeals to you. And once that concept appeals to you, and you feel that it's kind of a gut reaction. If you feel that, hey, I think this is a good, solid idea, let me, give it a shot. And that's part of that whole thing about loving what you do. If you love what you do and you make that shot, and it fails, you're just gonna get angry. And that's no good. And then once you're angry, then you close yourself off to similar ideas. So like when we got so the first couple of episodes, I said, this is really fascinating. It's not like the super robots I've ever watched. It's realistic, it's a human drama. That's when I said, you know what? I'm going forward with it. I'm going to support the product, try to sell the product. And, luckily it turned out. There's those are the kind of things that you have to take the risk on. So, how do I promote it and all that? I just word of mouth. Push it out, and hopefully it works out. How about you, Chris?
Through that, whether it's sort of a new thing you want to explore, like, hey, this is a great show, perhaps not a lot of figures with that, you want to see what the fan base is. You feel, A, there's a thirst for it, and there's something that fan base is so obscure that it may not, you may not make that kind of investment back. So you have to be careful of gauging it based on what you're kind of seeing in the fandom, that you're seeing in general, like, in the market, so you have to kind of, it's a little bit of a touch and go situation. Yeah, absolutely. Like there might be something that I say, well, I love a toy of that, but it's not going to sell. I mean, no one can do it.
It is what it is.
Exactly.
But thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, we're out of time. Thank you all for attending the Kaiju Retailers. We got a lot more panels to come. We have Kaiju United with a -1 to the Monsterverse panel coming up. And if you love Toy Talk, come join myself and the gents from Luminous G Forever and Heisenberg at 3 p.m. at the Gun Hill Brewery, where we're going to be talking toy collecting, toy reviewing, and all of the cool stuff that's been coming out this year and for the rest of the year. So thanks a lot, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.